Welcome to another episode of Real BMX Racing, the podcast. Today's show is sponsored by ProStart, Answer BMX, BMX Connect, and SendIt Racing. Today's guest is USA BMX Hall of Famer and owner of SendIt Racing, Toby Henderson. Toby, welcome to the show.
Woohoo! That was a nice intro.
Thank you. I was all over the place on that.
Did everybody get to see Skittles say that? They all got
no, I'll play that, in the middle or whatever, yeah. So that didn't show, yeah.
Okay, all right, we can talk about her a little bit. She contacted us today, and she put titanium handlebars. I don't know if you saw that, the new Skittles part. So she finally got to ride them today or yesterday. First time out of the gate, beat her PR again. She's just killing it. And she's riding 20 millimeter stealth rear hubs prototypes right now, her and Drew. Right. And they're loving that. They're feeling the difference. So we'll get into the whole why we're doing what we're trying to do here in a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Shannon, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So how did your 20 years as a professional bike racer influence the creation of both SendIt and Box components?
Okay, it's a good question because I'm trying to be rider owned, but it's more than that. I think it's my experience as a mountain biker and a BMX guy after 20 years. There was this moment on my mountain bike where I was one of the first guys to get a RockShox box or fork. And if you guys know about downhill and all that, it had a 20 millimeter axle in it. And the very first time I went down the hill with that and hit something with it in front of the bike, I immediately knew that bike is better. That axle was better, right? So, and I was fortunate enough to become, that 10 years I raced mountain bikes. My first bike was rigid. It's a photo over there somewhere. You probably can't see it. My first mountain bike, it's rigid. And then my last mountain bike had 8 inches of travel. So front and rear. So I was there that whole time for that evolution. I got to work with some great engineers and some great people, right? So I learned as an athlete from these people on this technology how to advance this thing. So when I started developing my own stuff, I had that mindset of trying to make things better. And that whole oversized axle thing was really stuck to my head. So I wanted to bring that to BMX. And I did that at my last company, VSI, and 15, 18 years ago now. And it was. I had to do it. I had to make the fork. I had to make the frame. I had to make the whole thing to do it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's when I had a company called Speed, now Speedco, which is owned by my buddies Kirk at J&R. But that's when I had that company. And I remember building a bike for me personally to go try this thing. I had 20 mil front, 20 mil rear, and a big oversized bottom bracket. And I was in Thailand where the bikes were being made. And I was putting all the regular bikes together for the photo shoot, and my sample bike showed up. So when I saw it, I was all excited about this bike. And I'm playing with the hubs and how cool it was. No one ever done this before on a BMX bike. So anyway, okay, it's time to go to work. I just threw my personal bike to the side and went to do the photo shoot for the rest of the bikes. And when I touched the 10 millimeter axle bolt after playing with my bike, I knew right then that this is not right. Why are we running these little tiny axles in our bikes after my experience with RockShox and after all that and playing my bike? Anyway, so I just went after it and said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it to work. And for years, people were bummed about, have to buy the hub, buy the fork, and to do it. But now it's a staple. No one runs, if you're 12 and up, whatever, the kids are starting to be when they start riding pro frames, they're all riding 20 millimeter axles. It took 18 years to do it.
Right.
But anyway, so that's how it all started. And back to the question, and I think that is from the experience, the RockShox experience, the first time I held one, and now that everybody runs one, I really started to decide where else on the bike can we do this. And at this point, we got the handlebar, right? We got the big B52 bottom bracket. We got the 20 millimeter rear ends. Even things like on the frame when you swedge the seat tube and grab the bottom bracket, so the bottom bracket can't twist. This tube is swedged this way and it's swedged the opposite way at here, so to keep everything stiff. And then at the same time, I'm oversizing everything. So, people are saying that kids can't flex or this way. A 5-year-old can flex something. I mean, they're going to push down the pedal and something has to move. So the goal of all this is when you push down the pedal, then it goes forward and not flex side to side. We had a bike with Mark Willers a long time ago, 20 millimeter front and rear, regular bottom bracket back then. It was a DK bike. They were awesome. And the chainstay on the DK at that time was kind of smaller, but he had 20 millimeter hubs. So we took a slow motion camera, went to the BMX track, and we filmed him coming out of the gate. And when he came out of the gate, his chain drops 4 inches.
Wow.
So you're talking a 20-inch wheel, right? It's 14 and a half inches center to center. And when he pushed down the pedal out of the gate, the frame flexed so much that his chain went down 4 inches.
Wow.
So that means that 4 inches, instead of going forward, it went, it went like this. Okay, this is my theory. I prove it mathematically. I do have some stats that show that. George at Renton did some stuff for me back in the day. We did some 20 mil tests, and we proved that the smaller kids actually were getting more advantage of the 20 mil stuff than the bigger kids because they couldn't flex it as much. Up to 33% difference between a 20 mil rear hub and a 10 mil rear hub. And George did that. It was unbiased. George did it with this cool little sprocket thing he had back in the day. And so anyway, we got some engineering proof of it, but everybody's telling me now that, especially with this new frame, they're feeling it. They're getting the personal best. And I think you were going a little bit later on about Mackenzie and doing her personal best, and Drew saying the same thing. And anyway, so Shannon, sorry for a long-winded one, but that's the whole lead into what we're trying to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You want to keep going? You want to keep going, Shannon? You got it.
So yeah, what inspired you to take your experience on the track and transform it into the innovative designs like oversized technology?
Well, when I was 12, I worked in a bike shop, and I remember, I think we talked about this last time, what desired me to want to build bike products. And I worked in the bike shop. I just loved bikes since I was 12, right? That's why I'm here today. And I wanted to make bike parts back then. I knew I wanted to do it. But then at 16, I became a pro, and I started racing. So I did that all the way to 38, right? So that whole time, and towards the end of my mountain bike career, all I could think about was making things. So the experience I had with the oversized on my mountain bike and wanting to make things, and I don't know why I wanted to do this, but I went to school to be an architect. That didn't plan out for me. So anyway, it was a passion since I was 12 to make bike parts, and the experience of my careers wanted me to make the bikes better. I keep thinking today, I was telling my wife last night, if I had that bike when I was riding for Hutch back in the day, right, what would that have been like if I would have showed up at a race with that and everybody else had early 80 bikes? What would have happened, right? I don't know. Maybe I would have won some more races. I don't know. But anyway, it's fun to think about that, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why.
I was going to say, you want to keep going, Shannon? You're doing well on this.
So, how does your background as a racer give you an edge in creating products that resonate with BMX riders at every level?
Well, okay. So I think a lot was said in the very first question about that, but I think because I've been doing it so long that I've been able to, I have to make an inch and eighth tire, right? And to do that, I have to deal with the little kids or a 135 millimeter crank or whatever. So I think when you say of all ages, I'm taking the first two questions. We talked about oversized and going faster, but I've been not forced, but had to create these lines of product that are from 2-year-old to a 100-year-old guy, right? So I'm able to deal with the little kids, and I'm working on some stuff for little kids. And the SendIt frames, they have a 15 millimeter rear, they have a tapered head tube. So where am I going with that, right? So I tapered a 1 inch to 1.8 inches. And I know now the forks are being made by Box to compensate for that. So I know these little kids, it might be a little bit heavier, but I know for a fact, and I've had some riders on the LSG teams, the dads tell me that, yeah, the stuff's a little bit heavier, not much, just a little bit. And the kids are getting faster because it's not flexing. We're talking about 10 and 12-year-old kids. Dads are telling me that, right? Yeah. So I can get some of these dads in to talk about it, but so I think, Shannon, I want to take that experience and go all the way down to the bottom, to the first kid who rides one, right? There's no reason why a little kid should be on 22.2 handlebars. They should be tapered to 19 millimeters at the grip. I mean, we're humans, we grow, we have these things. And so I just don't think people, and I think later on we'll talk about the investment it takes to do this work. And a lot of companies aren't doing it. And, but that's what I'm set out to do. I'm going to, with SendIt and Box, I'm going to create this line of stuff that's hopefully better than the rest of the guys. And that's how we stay in business, right?
Definitely.
So, yeah.
I mean, the little bit of added weight is not stopping people from buying the product at all. You know.
No, we sold a couple 18 top tubes today, on pre-sales because we're still waiting on these things. Now there's a big container shortage and all this other stuff going on. Like, yeah, I'm going to kill me. Wow. So they're coming though. I think you guys saw they're supposed to land in LA in 2 days. So yeah, and then they got to get shipped to the Midwest where our warehouse is at. So almost there. So
okay. For some reason, I thought the warehouse was in Anaheim.
No, that's Box. So
that's right.
And then I put the warehouse because it's two different companies. I put the warehouse in the Midwest on one because in California right now there's so much stuff you can't even afford to get in a building anywhere. Everything's full. Yeah. But I wanted in the Midwest because BMX race for me is it's Midwest is the central. I mean, literally the warehouse is the dead center of the country.
Right.
And it's going to allow us to feed all the tracks and feed people within 2 days shipping and things like that. I was able to get a team of people there and that knows a little bit about BMX and build that SendIt in that region. So
nice.
Yeah. But I'm in Anaheim right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also, what challenges did you face integrating the oversized technology into the SendIt frames, and how did your racing background help overcome them?
Well, I don't know if my racing background overcome them. I think my proudness, I don't know a word for that, to want to create this stuff is really my desire to do it. But the challenges are, I think, more than anything. I mean, so with the SendIt, with the B52 bottom bracket, it takes a special cutting tool. So if you screw your bottom bracket up, you're going to have to get this cutting tool that costs quite a much money, like an old, a BB chasing tool. So I think the biggest challenge is when you buy an oversized product, you have to have two things to make it work. And that's why I had to create the frame to make Box even better, right? So Box was limited to our frame partners for the longest time. We were waiting on frame people, and not to say names of people, but I had one frame maker, we're great partners, and I had him make me a frame, a B52 frame, and this is during COVID times. It took a year to make it, a year, because COVID and it's different, and you had to make the tool to chase the paint and all this stuff, and it was somebody else's company, so I was waiting on him, waiting, and then when I got it, it was wrong. So it's like, now what? We got to go back and do it again, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's when I started saying, hey, if I don't have the frame, I'm dependent upon other people to help me make my box line better. And there might be a little bit of conflict of interest of Box and frames, but Box is Switzerland. It stays if DK and DK spec stuff, Mabo spec stuff. We have partnerships in that. But SendIt frames are allowing me to make Box stuff better and allow me to take the two things and put together. So what the customer has to overcome is buying, fork and a hub. If you have a 10mm fork, right, you got to buy the hub, right? So I made adapters to help people that. And by the way, the SendIt bikes, because you see this oversized technology, it comes with adapters to adapt everything to a standard bike. So I kind of make that clear because people keep asking questions. The only thing you need, if you have a bike, the only thing you would need to buy would be a disc brake rear hub. If you have an older bike, everything else adapts here. But if you want to take advantage of all the Box oversized stuff, you remove the adapters and you put, the Box stuff in, which gives you that advantage. So for anybody who can ride this frame as long as you have the disc brake rear hub. So anyway.
I mean, how much longer do you think before everybody's doing this, where it's the standard?
Well, for Box, we've been pushing B52 to our other manufacturers for quite a while. But for them, they have the same challenge as SendIt. They have to recreate the frame. They have to deal with the people buying two things. They have to have the tool to fix it. Somebody screws it up. So a lot of them don't want to go down that path. It's because they don't want to take that risk. Where SendIt allows me to take that risk. But we are actively chasing other manufacturers to take B52 on. Now, the oversized head tubes, I did that a long time ago. I made the first fork. I was pushing my frame partners to do that. And now everybody has tapered head tubes. And that stems from my mountain bike career. I learned that on a mountain bike, right? So everybody has tapered head tubes, but I made a fork before there was the frame. So that's a risk right there, right? Definitely. And then we solicited the frame makers and they believed in it and they started making them, and then next thing you know, everybody has it, right? So,
Well, you want me to continue to eat?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. It's all right.
Hey, you're good, Shannon.
Well, all right, let's go.
I'm just controlling all the other stuff.
And so what role does the collaboration between SendIt and Box components play in advancing the oversized technology?
I think is what we're saying is having both components allow me to not be restricted by not having a frame or waiting on a frame partner to build something. I think is the main reason to do that. On the mountain bike side, you wouldn't do that, but mountain bikes are still hanging on a rear derailleur. Because we make drivetrain here at Box too for mountain bikes. So we still hang our derailleurs on this little tiny tab that hangs on the back of your bike. It's not been changed since I raced, 30 years ago, right?
Wow.
At this point, So it's the same thing. So you'd have to have Shimano would have to go back to all the frame makers, tell them to change their bikes so Shimano could do a better job at that juncture. Could you imagine all the frame makers in the world to change everything? So Shimano's not going to make a frame and force these guys to do it. So I feel that I'm kind of forcing the direction by having both and forcing people to step up and develop quality stuff for racing and to make the riders go faster. And to do that, I need to put my fork in a frame, or I need to put my bottom bracket in a frame, and I need a frame that's going to do that, right? So, and I can never test this stuff unless I have a frame. So, it takes both to get it done.
So how do you stay motivated in a market where advanced technology isn't always immediately accepted?
I don't read the social media. That's it. I don't read. I just was talking to my sales guy a minute ago, and he's kind of new, and he's reading something on BMX Museum about something I'm working on and how negative it was. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't care. I just don't care. Because if I read into that, I learned a long time ago. If I read into that and believed in that, then I wouldn't build this stuff, right? I think I build it because I have a passion for it. I have a desire for it. It's how I make a living. It's not something that this is how I put my kid to college, is through this stuff. So I'm doing it for several reasons, but I think it's because I know it's there and it can be done because of my experience as a rider. I know it's there. So I think that's what motivates me. I absolutely enjoy what I do, so.
We could definitely tell it shows. I mean, just when you talk, man, you're super excited every time you release a product or when you talk about, it's just, I love it, man. I love the energy.
Appreciate that. Cool.
Yeah. So SendIt, it represents a significant financial investment in innovation. How do you balance that with constraints of the niche market?
Yeah, so that's kind of, we talked a little bit about that. The other guys, I don't want to see the other guys, because I think most of the people in the sport I get along with, and I think they're all great. There's some really good companies out there. So I'm not trying to say that, but that's the biggest part. I think a lot of people don't understand how much investment it takes to do these things and how small the market is. And at the end of the day, do I take home a paycheck or do I put it in the business? And I put a lot of it back in the business. And I think that's what sets us apart. That's what makes Box, what I think is the #1 component maker, is that we've tooled up for that. When we started Box, after I sold my last company, we had a large budget to tool up. And I had the company, remember Signs, people called it Sins. You remember that brand? That was mine. That also got sold to J&R when I sold the company. But we were buying somewhat off the shelf at the time. We were really innovative because I was kind of new to it. I didn't understand. And I'm buying a brake from Tektron and putting signs on it. And we sold a lot of them because the brand was cool, but it was nothing but a Tektron brake, right? So when I started Box, and so then someone else can go buy that same brake and put their name on it. And that got confusing in the market. So when I started Box, I made sure when I sold the other company, they had a budget to tool up for everything. So there's nothing in Box that we didn't tool up for. Every single thing, 700 SKUs here, right? So SKUs, as my wife would say, there's 700 SKUs here, right? that is tooled up for, and I think I don't know anybody else is doing that. So the financial commitment to do that, the risk and oversized, and the word oversized now is like, now people know. That word's been around for 10 years. Big equals fast. We've been saying that for 10 years here. And now the word's somewhat, is that oversized? Just now, right? Yeah. So there's a huge risk, but I wouldn't, like I said, I love what I'm doing, and I'm doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to make riders go faster. And if I can prove the bike is faster than somebody else's bike, people are going to buy them, right? That's the whole idea. So.
Definitely.
So, I mean, so what are you doing to educate the riders and the consumers about the performance benefits of the oversized technology?
I don't do a very good job at that.
Well, I mean, putting out those numbers, I guess, with Drew Polk and, Skittles and whoever else is getting the numbers up,
Yeah,
so that helps.
Yeah, I got this. One of my faults, many of my faults, but many of them. But one of my faults is when I'm done with the product, I'm just like I see it and I feel it. I know I nailed it, and then my brain goes on to the next one, right? So it's left for the marketing team, everybody else here, to understand what's in my head and figure out a way to promote it better. So I don't think we do a good job at it. But I think at this point with Drew, McKinsey, and these riders on the track, Nate Lloyd, people who are experienced now this new frame, I think the frame is really telling everybody, hey, this box stuff works, the frames work, our personal records are being beat. So I think at this point, I have to rely on the athletes and the teams that we work with to kind of get to spread the word for us, because I'm not that good at the rest of it, right? So anyway, and, I'm 60, right? So social media and all that, that's not my thing. I'm Facebook guy. Instagram, what's that? I don't know. So with the kids, so I'm a little behind on that stuff. So.
I just want to say the cool thing that I like about it is, well, when we grew up, it was more along the lines of nobody wanted to tell you what you were riding. What's your gear? What's your size this? What size that? And they're like, I don't know. I just threw something on. But you can literally go, on Instagram, and Drew's like, hey, let me give you my bike breakdown of what I got.
Right.
And gives you every part, every size, and lets you know, like, ain't no secret out there. I got you.
Yeah. I think, one thing I hate doing is people ask me, what size should I ride? What gear should I ride? I'm 5'6", and what size? I don't know. I never seen you ride. So if because you're 5'6", and another guy's 5'6", doesn't mean you ride the same size crank or the same size top tube. You have different styles, right? So I don't know. That's why we make 14 sizes and 10 size cranks, right? It's because everybody's a little bit different. So I think sharing that information, you can ride Drew's exact bike, because for me, Drew's bike's a little long. I think he rides a long bike for how tall he is. Personally, if Drew had come to me and asked me that question, I would have told him a size down. But he likes his longer bike, so that's Drew's thing, right? Yeah. So I think if you read Drew's, his bike check, which is pretty cool, I got it right here. If you read his bike check, and people did, and you might go get his bike, but maybe that doesn't fit you right.
Right.
No, right? So,
had he tried a smaller frame?
No, I don't know what his last sponsor was giving him, but when he asked for that frame, I was kind of shocked. 3XL he's riding, right? I was thinking he's more of a double XL guy, so 21.5 versus 22. Yeah, so he's on the 22 frame, right? I'm shocked. Drew's 5'9" or something. I don't think he's even 5'10".
If that, because I'm only 5'8", and we're like eye to eye, bro.
Yeah, okay, so I was being nice to Drew and giving him a little bit longer.
He may be 5'9" though, but he's not on the He's nowhere near
16. I mean, and then we have Delaney Vaughn, who rides a very small bike. I work with her a lot on her crates and stuff. And then Skittles' bike is small, but Delaney Vaughn rides a very small bike. She's a tiny girl, but she rides something I would think is normal or whatever, right? So just don't know, Skittles too. She's riding a bike that, I think her bike, I don't know, her and Delaney, I don't know, because I was working with Delaney on her cranks, and I was like, that frame is small. That's what I like, right? So anyway.
So they wouldn't even try a different frame at this point, would they?
I think they already know. I think someone at that level already knows, right? That's the thing, right? So, but it doesn't mean it fits for everybody. But I think if you're at that, if you make it to the 8 Pro class and you're making mains, girl or guy, you know what you need, right? And it's funny is that we're going to the Grands and we have all this new stuff coming. No one will put it on their bikes. No one. Like Elise Post, we have some stuff we custom made for it. Nope, not changing for the Grands. For the Olympics, we couldn't get anybody to put anything on their bikes. It was developed and ready to go. We couldn't do it. They just do not want to change anything. Yeah. Cam Woods is difficult. He doesn't want to change. And I understand. I get it. I was talking to my partner today, but I was racing mountain bikes once, and I thought I knew I was going to win this race. It was Toby downhill track. And it was the last race of the year, and I was on this huge team. Product was very scarce, and there was these brand new pedals, Shimano clipless pedals in the truck. I'm taking those because I won't see the team for a whole year. I wait until next year, right? And I put on my bike to race, and I went down the hill in the final run, and they were not the same as the ones I've been riding. They were just not the same. They weren't they were set the same, but they were new, and I've been riding some beat up ones. And what happened? I went off the jump, feet came out, and didn't win, right? So I understand that you don't want to change a bike before a big event. So hopefully after the Grands, we'll probably have a barrage of people wanting to try all this new stuff we're working on. X6 forks, titanium bars, all that fun stuff, right? Changing the frame out. So.
Well, real quick, before I race Grands, I think I changed my cleats about 2 millimeters, like each side. I kicked them out a little bit, right? So my feet will be a little position different. Yeah. It was messing me up the whole weekend, man. Yeah. I mean, it was just the slightest change. And so I could totally get that.
Yeah. I think Shannon, if you're in tune with your bike and what you like, I think people don't understand why we have so many different frames, or why we have different cranks at every 2.5 millimeters. You feel that number. When I was riding for Giant, I expected a bike out, and they custom made me a downhill bike, and they made it 5 millimeters shorter than I wanted. And it got to me. I said, "No, you got to make me another one." And the engineers are looking at me. There's no way 5 millimeters. No, it's huge. It's a huge number, you know. And they had to go back and make me another one because I just didn't, you know. So I think when you're in tune with your stuff, 5 millimeters is a big thing, right? So.
Well, when I first got back into BMX, you know, somebody told me about, we were on crank size, you know, from 170s to 175s or whatever. So I came home and I looked at a ruler and I'm like, this is 5 millimeters we're talking about. Are you kidding me, bro? You know, but now that I've been riding a lot, 5 millimeters is huge, you know. It is.
In my downhill career, we got to the suspension got so long that we all had to run shorter cranks and like 170s, and I couldn't do it. I could not run a 170 crank. It felt like I couldn't pedal. One of my strengths was pedaling. So I would just let my pedals hit the ground, would bottom out and feet hitting the ground because, you know, if I run 170s, man, I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere with them. So, you know, and it's just the way it is, right? So, yeah.
Crazy.
All right, so what is your vision for SendIt and its role in advancing BMX and the e-BMX technology?
Ooh, the e stuff, huh? I'm surprised. I'll let you guys have that question. I got some stuff I'm working on, and that was one of the articles today that my sales guys was showing me. It was talking about e-bikes. It was on. I don't want to say the platform, but yeah, I got a vision for that, and I think I was against e-bikes in my mountain bike career. And one of my guys here brought a couple in the office. I'm like, I don't need that or whatever. And at this point, I'm having struggling getting up hills anyway. So he gave me this crappy e-bike, and we went on a ride, and that was it, man. I came back from the ride and went straight to the internet and found the best bike I could buy. E-bike I could buy. It was a Specialized. I still have it. It had 8 inches of travel. It was 7.5 inches of travel. Spring rear. I made sure I got the best suspended e-bike I could get. And the reason was that is I could get up to the top of the hill with my e-bike and blast down the downhill. So the joke here now is Toby doesn't ride unless there's a chairlift or a motor because I don't want to pedal up a hill anymore, you know? So I have a vision for the e-BMX stuff. It doesn't have a throttle, I can say. I have some stuff. We're working on it. It's going to take a while because I've had my mountain bike on the BMX tracks. It doesn't really work, you know? So there's a lot that has to be learned, but we do have the e-BMX stuff that we have now. I call it e-BMX, but it's kind of going head-to-head with STACYC is what I wanted to do because STACYC has some kind of penetration into the sport. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of ride that a little bit and get some sales and get known in that side of it. And hopefully with our e-BMX bikes, we fix some of the problems that they've had or they're facing with our bikes, and we seem to have a good fanfare of them. So, but I have a bigger vision, and we'll talk about that on the next. When I show them, then we'll have another podcast. How's that?
There we go.
So I remember a few years ago, they introduced the STACYC bikes at the Grands, I think it was, right?
Yeah, a couple years ago on the Friday night race. Yeah, it was the first time I saw them on the track. And I was like kind of impressed. This kid for hauling butt, man. You know, so anyway, people love them. I had one of ours. You can't see them all back there, but I had one at SoCal National, and there was the line in front of Donovan Long's LSG tent to ride it was 13 kids deep once who were standing in their line. And I said, yeah, you guys can ride it. Just take your turn. Don't knock Shannon down because he'll get mad at me. Shannon Gillette. Don't knock him down because he's going to tell us you guys can't ride him anymore. Don't hurt anybody on him. And the kids were buzzing around the pits on that thing until they wore the battery out. So they had to fill the battery up, again the next day. They were just waiting in line to ride the thing. So I know the kids are going to love the thing. I know they are. It's just we got to build the right machine for the right thing. That's what I'm working on. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen many. I've seen some in Charlotte, at that track. I think they held a few races already, but yeah.
Well, Razor has a new one. I saw Billy Griggs at that race. They have a new one. It's quite a little bit different than what I want to do, but he has a really nice one. So he's the BMX dude. He sees it too. And Billy's a smart guy, and they got a really nice one. So yeah, we'll see. So.
Isn't he donating to give one to the winner of Grands? Or?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right, so someone has been on top of the sport as both an athlete and as a designer. Where do you see BMX technology, in the future?
Well, I'm working on a whole line of stuff. So I just think we have to start talking more about where can we make the bike stiffer? Where can we make it handle better? These kind of things. Is a 20 millimeter front axle big enough? I don't know. Should we go bigger? You know what I mean? Should our tires be more slick since the car turns are more tarry now, right? So what do we need to do? As long as it doesn't rain, I don't know. So all that stuff, I think. I don't want to say too much because I'm pretty sure some of our competitors are going to be watching this, but I think there's plenty of room, and always, it's funny, Chairman, is every time I make something at Box, I'm like, what am I going to do now? I just did what the best thing there is for that. And next thing you know, a week later, we're working on something else, right? And it's never ending here. And one day we'll try to take a tour around the shop. I don't know if you guys have watched our Thursday videos, but you guys have walked around the shop before, and we have an extensive lab here, an extensive, it's not like, we're not sitting at desk. There's a lab here, and we got machines, and we try stuff. And anyway, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. It's just having my background, now 2 of them, like you said earlier, putting those 2 together, and then having the desire at the same time is what makes us who we are, I think, at this point. And I think there's plenty of room of improvement. And my list is long. And it's funny, right when I think I'm going to slow down, I start some whole new project. And I look at it and my emails are just like crazy. And the next thing I know, I'm doing 10-hour days again. So anyway, plenty of room. I got plenty of things coming.
So have you been on the bike yet?
No, I don't. Not really. No.
I was just wondering because you can roll around in the office or something. Like you haven't had that.
Yeah, a little bit. But I got engineers here and stuff. I let those guys ride. I mean, like when Stu rides it, he'll give me his feedback. But no, I talk to Drew and McKinsey and these people on a regular basis. And I kind of let them do it. Right. My engineer here, when we put something together, we're worried about something not fitting right. He'll ride it. But for me, I got big wrist issues from all my years. I have no cartilage in my wrist. I think we've talked about that. Yep. So when I ride, it hurts my hands. My hands hurt. Especially a mountain bike, because it's just boom, boom, boom. Remember, 40 years of my hands doing that, I wore them out. Not broken. I never broke stuff. It's they're just wore out. My wrists are worn out. So.
Any chance of introducing like suspension into BMX? I know they've done that at one point, but
no, I think yes. How's that? Let me say. I don't really know where it's going to go. I am working on stuff that has intentions down that road, but I don't really know until you build the machine and you put it on the track, right? Do the tracks evolve because the machines evolved, or the machine evolved because the tracks evolved? Back and forth, right? I mean, look at Supercross. I was watching 80s Supercross. The tracks do not look like Supercross tracks now, right? So the bikes are different, the tracks are different. So I think the sport needs that, and it has. I mean, since the big hill, the bikes are not the same. The bikes are longer, the bikes are stiffer. So I think as the tracks evolve, the bikes evolve. Would it be suspension? Back to your question, would that be something? I know one thing. If I was going down the big hill and I was riding, I'd want suspension.
Me too.
So at least to go high enough, and if I miss, at least I have something to take it, right?
To absorb it, definitely.
But it's not going to pedal very good after that, I'm pretty sure.
So let me throw a curveball at you while I'm out there.
Oh, how's the new frame treating you? I love it. It's so cool. And I'm normally a person that hates switching. Like, I'm like, I don't want to switch anything. I switched, and it was amazing. Like, I hit my PR the first time I did my sprints at the track. You know, I've keep getting PRs. I'm not like kind of stuck where I am. The bike sits really low and it feels super good. Like out of the gate, super strong, going in the turns. I really like it. It's easy just to like throw around too around the track. I think it's very good.
Hey, Mackenzie.
So with that, with what she was saying there, what, and I guess with the technology that you're talking about, is that what's going on to where it's just, you know, it's that good to where once you get it all dialed in, like you will get better?
Well, she came from a carbon bike, and she was saying that, you know, her last bike, she was worried if they ever went out of business, where's she going to get them? Her dad actually stockpiled a few frames for her, worried that she would never have anything that she loved that much until she got on ours. And that was a fluke. I mean, she kind of came, just wanted to try something different. And I was like, we're still new. We still haven't delivered yet. And, oh, yeah, it's Mackenzie. Yeah. So we got her one, you know, and I shipped her one and prototype one, the first one, had some issues, but she got it. And she had that feedback, right? So, but I think one of the things too, we talked about a little bit before, but when you go straight from here to behind the rear axle, the bike is different. So we're welding behind the axle. We're not welding in front of the axle. Every other manufacturer's rear dropouts hang off the back, right? Or they're not a part of the frame. So this axle is integrated inside the triangle, not outside the triangle. That's a huge difference, right? To do that, I had to go straight across, which gave that little standover height. And some of that was, I saw a kid's bike at the Grants a couple years ago. Kid's bike slammed. He's cut off this little bit of seat post he had. He cut it off, and that's what they wanted, right? So for me, it was like, okay, we need to evolve this thing. And I'm sure there's some of the critics might say, oh, I don't like it or whatever, but we've had very little of that, but it actually works. That straight line from here to here does not allow any kind of angle, which would cause flex, right? When it's a straight line, that torsion is going straight, right? So there's no way for it to move on some kind of joint. And then, of course, welding behind the axle is a huge thing. People don't understand that. Every time I see a frame come out and the dropouts are hanging off the back, I'm thinking, man, what's the point? Because that thing's going to, going to flex, right? So anyway. So yeah, she's and then again, I think I said it before we started that she got her titanium bars on her bike, and she's like, hey, I beat my times again. So she's somebody, because she's new. Remember, she's a rookie, right? So she's rookie girl. I guess we call her rookie because midway through the year she came. So she came to the pro class. She's making the mains, right? She's been on the podium a couple times, but she's really trying hard to advance herself. Her work ethic's awesome, her and Drew's. And I think that she's looking for ways to go faster, where some of our older ones have been around a while, a little bit more set. Mackenzie's looking for that advantage because she's younger and she's newer. Right. So she's a little bit more open to trying the stuff. And of course, we're delivering stuff to her that makes a difference. We think that's what the whole show's about, right? So she's the one who's really getting the most out of this. I think Drew would give a similar opinion to some of the stuff he has. He's got the new 20, so does she, but I haven't gotten feedback on her on the rear hub. But Drew's got a 20 millimeter rear axle stealth hub. Finally did it. And he said as soon as he was on it, he instantly knew it, right? Instantly. First time out of the gate, he knew that axle, which is encapsulating both sides of the frame because the bolts are on the outside, pulling all that frame together from the outside of that big massive axle in the back. He's thinking it's a night and day difference. But to build that, it's 5 years. 5 years. The handlebars were 3 years. The cranks, 4 years. That frame, a year and a half is all it took me.
He's like, yeah, about a year.
But still a year and a half, we still haven't delivered to me, right, Everett? We still haven't delivered to you, right? Yeah. So we're close. But no, some of this stuff takes a long time. The titanium handlebars, the tool after tool after tool, and that goes back to the investment and the risk that people really want to do that. I mean, you send tooling money to your manufacturer and they call you and say it doesn't work, send more money. Like, right? How many handlebars do I have to sell to make up for that, right? And titanium being as expensive as it is, already an expensive handlebar. It's a $400 handlebar. And we don't factor in the tooling money. The tooling money is the risk that we take. But the $400 handlebar is just what it needs. We have to sell it for just to pay our overhead. It has nothing to do with the tooling. So all the tooling money that we put towards that handlebar was the risk. But right now we're selling those handlebars like absolutely gangbusters.
Wow.
So, yeah, I walked out to order going to Australia, and I looked at what I was like, where's all that going? They go, Australia. I'm like, oh my God, like 40, 50 pair of bars or whatever it was, right?
Wow.
Titanium handlebars. So for me, it's a success. But it was that risk 3 years ago that we sent that money to the manufacturer who's never done anything like that before and said, well, we'll try for you. And, you know, time after time. And we actually came to market a little bit early. They weren't quite perfect and gave some to Nick Keeman. And he's like, yeah. And now he digs them. But the first ones, we weren't quite there. I need to go to market, get money in, right? And this stuff's not easy. It's not easy sometimes. But
yeah.
That's why you the man, bro, because you take risks. You know, you have to take risks. You know that. Everybody that's great in anything they've ever done, they take major risks. You know they do.
You know, it's funny. And now I'm going to boast for a second, but that's all I do. So, you know, so last night I was with my friend who owns a bike shop, and we're talking about a project I'm working on. And I always want the dealer's feedback, right? And I said, yeah, you know, I take risks. And I go, I'm the guy who went down Mammoth at 70 miles an hour on a mountain bike. First guy to ever break the 70-mile barrier, right? And there was a guy sitting over somewhere on the other side of the bar who knew him and realized it was me. And he said, oh, yeah, I remember that. I saw that happen. So I said, yeah, that's a risk. So I can take a risk my whole life to if you know, racing a mountain bike with back then 2 inches of travel, I think is what we had, and going through the, 70 miles an hour through the speed trap, hauling butt. So, yeah, I guess I'm a risk taker. And I've failed. Trust me, I've failed. I have failed along the way too, so it is what it is. So, as long as I was taught a long time ago by one of my bosses, as long as you're 60% right, you're good. Okay? As long as you're above 50, so all right. And I think we're a lot more than 60% here at Box.
There we go.
Yeah. So we got to take that risk. So.
Well, one question too I wanted to ask. So with the design right there, is it meant for the frame to like have like a side plate?
Yeah, so that was something I wanted, but it actually turned into something that makes the front of the bike stiffer. So we didn't know how to really accomplish that part I wanted, but I just wanted that. And as my frame guys drawn it for me, we kept playing with it in 3D. And the more I looked at it, the more I go, this is what I really wanted. And yes, it was all about putting the number there originally. But now that we've been able to, basically there's a big gusset that goes in between the two tubes, is welded all the way around, and then we sand it and make it smooth, right, to put that on there. So now we realize that makes the front of that bike so much stiffer, right, than it would have been. And I think that's where most of the weight, we're talking, when I say weight, this frame is probably 0.3 pounds heavier than the lightest frames out there. So we're talking negligible, right? We're under 4 pounds with the smaller frames. And I think the one's 4.3 for a 4XL. It's all on the website now. We're the ones who post on the website. I'm not lying. I'm not running from it. A lot of frame companies don't post their weights. We do, so it's real. But that's a lot of that weight is right there. And the massive chainstays are some of the other weight too. And of course, the B52 bottom bracket. But that 0.3 pounds heavier than the lightest frame out there, aluminum frame, I think is well made up in its oversized technology and its stiffness and it's the whole direction of this thing, right? So, and it looks cool too. And of course, then the graphic guy nailed it. I go, I want a number plate here, and I go for it, dude. And he went for it. And he came back. I mean, that was like first or second revision. I'm like, oh, nailed it. Do it. Anyway,
yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
it looks fast. Stop looking at it.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like,
I can't stop looking at it.
And I'm like, and it's red, and I'm like, I love red.
I know.
Well, we only have 30 some frames on the track at this point, and no one's really putting their numbers on them. Chase, the Hummingbird's dad, he put numbers on. He called me, hey, you have a template for that one? Put his number on the side. All right, somebody gets it. So, but then Mackenzie's painting stuff on hers. But yeah, the whole point of that was to get rid of the side plate, something we actually created and started here. And I learned that from UCI requesting numbers and side plates because we're a sponsor of UCI. I'm like, why don't we make these things? And USA BMX, it's how you see we're close to the finish line. How do you see the number and all that? So we're the first ones to make the side plate. Box was. So we just basically said, it's been a huge success for us. So let's put it inside the frame. It's just like I said, Shannon. We'll keep always thinking and of things to do, and keep going, right? So, yeah.
I can't wait to see what this is going to look like in 10 years from now.
Yeah, really, huh?
Around. I'll be paying attention.
I got about another 10 years left in me. By then, if I don't retire, my wife's gonna kill me.
Nice. Was that all the questions?
Yeah, I think we're good for now, man.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Was there anything that you wanted to add on it?
Me?
Yeah.
I think I said it all in the very first question, right?
Right.
No, I think you asked the right questions. I appreciate that. We did talk about skills as PRs, and we're getting those every day. The reason why we do it is to make, one, because we love it, and two, we know it works, and we know that if we do this, people will buy it. And I've been doing it my whole life now. So I've literally since I was 12 years old. I've been in this industry, so we're looking at 50 years at this point. Yeah. I've been doing this, so we're gonna keep doing it. We love it. I got not lucky with the name. I think the name was good. I think the paint job is good. Our sponsorship with USA BMX is on par.
Oh yeah.
So working with guys like yourselves is good. So yeah, we're just trying to do all the right things, And I know we're gonna have a stellar year next year. And like I said before, we have a lot more coming. So there's going to be some pretty big announcements end of next year, probably a year after that for some of the electric stuff. And it's taking a lot longer than I want because this stuff that's in my head, it's been in my head for a couple of years. And it's like I'm still 2 years away from seeing it.
Right.
So it's hard sometimes to not talk about it because I love to talk about it. And two, to wait for it to happen. So, but it's part of it, man. You think things are going to work. And I got something back here that we put the bike together. It's going to go to the race. It's a prototype part, and we went to pedal on it, and it just broke. It broke, man. And what is a prototype? It just broke in the parking lot. We're like, what is that? It's a long story. It's a lower end bike we're introducing, and it's a crank that I made from the ground up, and it's like, and then we go back to manufacturer. What happened? Oh well, it's a prototype, so we thought you weren't going to ride it. I can't because we're in a rush to get to this race, right? It was like, yeah, but what if some kid gets on it and takes off on it? I'm not watching, Anyway, so we make mistakes, and sometimes it's a little bit tougher than it is, but we just keep plugging away at it. I got some good people around me. I'm really lucky to have the people around and support around me. Some of the factories I work with are really good to me. My new factory was SendIt. It's an amazing factory. They make a lot of bikes. They're excited about this because they haven't made anything at this level before. They do a lot of mid to lower price point bikes, so they're extremely excited about the project. And it takes a team of people. I mean, I think what people don't understand, when the frames were in the production line, there was 3 or 4 guys that had to leave their building and go to another building 2.5 hours, so spend the night for almost 2.5 weeks during the production run. So there's 3 or 4 guys standing on the production line looking at every single frame that goes down the production line. And I don't want to tell you how many we have, but it's a lot. Two big containers are coming. So and you can do the math on how many fits a container. So anyway, so people don't understand that alone in itself is a huge, huge thing. So when people say, oh, make it here or do this or do that, don't understand really the challenges and the things it takes to do this. And if I gave you a number that we're in so far on this project, on just the frames, the number.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's way into the 6 digits. Trust me, way in, right? So I think that's the way to do it. I think the way to make the good stuff and have it available in BMX, and that's something in that box we do. Our inventory here is quite deep. We're always out of something. You can never, with 700 SKUs or SKUs, as my wife would say, you never have them all. There's just no way to manage that. I try to do the best I can. I got a great team here, it's a huge investment to have that stuff. But a BMX, when he needs a fork or he wants a certain size frame, you better have it. Otherwise, he's going to go get it somewhere else, right?
Definitely.
But no, I think for me it's good. Thanks for playing the Skittles thing because that was important to for her to talk about her personal best. And again today, her new handlebars. She got a new bike. I think if you guys go to her Instagram, she had that thing where she had that paint job thing where somebody
that contest.
So she showed the frame. Now I'm assuming the bike got put together. That's why she was telling me about the handlebars today. I don't know, but she has all the parts. But yeah, thanks for showing that, because she's been the one who's really, really taking big advantage of all the things that we do here. Right. And Nick Keeman was in here last week. You guys know he's hurt. He's not going to be riding for a while. Some illness going on. And so he's a little bummed, but he walked around. He's been here before, but he saw the things we're doing. He loves the titanium bars. He's really stoked about getting back on quality stuff and stuff. So I think it's important if we want guys like, Neek and Skittles and Drew around, we have to make good stuff, right?
Definitely.
And Mabo, those guys, I love those guys. What's that?
I was gonna say, to throw this out there, me and Everett are available for employment, man. If you ever need to go out to the warehouse and just pick things out, test ride a few bikes.
Everybody thinks this is a huge company. I don't even tell you how many people we have, but it ain't very many. So we have some great engineers, and we have the service team that we have in Missouri that's going to take care of all that stuff for us. But most of the stuff is the creatives coming from myself, and my wife's helping with the social media. But we haven't sold anything yet, guys. So you got to remember, SendIt has yet to sell one thing, not one thing yet. Wow. Right? So we have a lot of orders and a lot of things, but we haven't accepted $1 from one person to date. And we really thought we'd have it at the Grands, and we're disappointed. I'm sorry for all you people that was hoping to ride the frame at the Grands. We really thought it would happen. And now they're saying, like I said, the boat's almost here. Now it's like 3 days to get on a train and train it to Missouri. It's like, oh my God, But yeah, so it's been a long, hard road. So again, sorry for how long it took us, but we got it right. That's the whole point, to get it right. Yep. And I didn't want to do it when it wasn't right. I didn't think it would take this long, but I'm pretty particular when it comes to stuff that you're doing. And when you're inventing things, it takes time. And there's a lot of inventions on the frame. It's not just a normal frame, right? And it's not like, they just thread that bottom bracket. No, we had to make a tool to make the bottom bracket, right? So that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, we're excited about it. They're coming. A lot of them are coming. And I know we're going to do really, really well next year with it. And like I said, a lot more coming, guys. So
yeah, this same time next year, nobody's gonna remember what's going on now. So yeah.
Well, hopefully, if I do my job right, they're gonna forget about that one and be on whatever else we're creating, right? That's right.
So I just have one last question. Do you get any sleep, man?
I didn't sleep well last night, but that's another problem. No, I do. It's funny though. You guys might see me a little bit more out there, and maybe the people watching. But my wife and I, we got a Sprinter van. I think we talked about that, and we're building it out right now. It's in New Jersey, getting built out. So we're going to travel to a lot of races next year.
Awesome.
The goal wasn't to be at the tracks as much as the actual traveling part, but I've been living out of suitcases and on airplanes my whole life. Right. So I want something a little bit different. We want to enjoy it a little bit more of the time in between. So obviously, Shannon, maybe I'll get some sleep then. But I'm looking at, like right now, I was kind of, because we're leaving Saturday or Sunday to go to the races, right? To the Grands. I'm looking, okay, I'm catching everything up, carrying. I'm looking, as we talk, I look over and there's a bunch more stuff I got to deal with. So in the van, we'll have a workstation in the van. We'll have Starlink on the van, so we'll be able to work. And
awesome.
We'll see. I think, yeah, I'll be able to sleep in the van. I think, I'm hoping. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not going to live in it, but we'll be in it a bunch, we think, next year. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're good.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for that. Thanks, Everett, for all you've done for us. I got your frames. I got your back. They're coming.
Okay.
So
right. We're good.
Going on, and we'll, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you for watching another episode of Real BMX Racing, the podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other major platforms. Don't forget to check out the website, realbmxracing.com.